restricting a domain. Now, in the case in which the inverse of a function is not a function, okay, the domain of the function can be restricted to allow the inverse to be a function. Bit of a mouthful. Let's have a look at x squared minus 2. Here it is. X squared minus 2 is a function, but it won't have an inverse because it's not one-to-one and doesn't pass the horizontal line test. Okay. If I was to actually do the inverse of this and draw it, in other words, reflect it across the y equals x line, I'd have something, if I can draw this, that looks like this. Something like that. In other words, now it's hard to see, of course, but if I drew the y equals x line, hopefully, okay, right. Now, of course, the original is not one-to-one. Can you see the inverse is not a function because that won't pass the vertical line test? Now then, if we restrict the domain, let's just solve it as we would do. Okay, y equals x squared minus 2. We replace the x and the y, okay? So we get x equals y squared minus 2. To solve for y, we add a 2. And then square root. Now here's what's going to happen. If I square root, I'm going to get plus and minus x plus 2. Square root, okay? Plus and minus root x plus 2. Now what we have here is the positive and the negative side of root x plus 2. Well, that's what this is. This here is root x plus 2. And it's shown a bit clearer in the graph below. There. This part is the negative part of root x plus 2. Okay? But again, it's not a function, it won't pass the vertical line test. So if I restrict the original domain to just positive numbers, now look, that means, I'm going to have to erase everything. What's this? If I do this, okay, I'll try and get rid of all this as well, so it's not in the way. Okay? Look at the original function if I just restrict it to positive numbers. Look, here it is. Here it is, can you see that? Well, here it is. If I reflect that through the y equals x line, I'll get this. And that is just the positive part of root x plus 2. Okay? So again, if I restrict the domain to x is just bigger than 0, it'll look like this. Nothing on the other side. So I can have the inverse that's a function. Okay? And there it is.